Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander Tactical. I recently made some content on the Agilite K0 plate carrier and quite quickly touched on some of the differences between the standard rifle placard, triple rifle placard, and the Pincer rifle placard. But what I thought to do was just spend a little bit more time really going into the differences between these two. So let's turn the camera around, or take the camera around and take a closer look. Now the wind has just picked up ever so slightly, so I do apologise if you can hear the wind in the background. What I thought I'd do, we'd just start off by having a look at the similarities and maybe some of the differences between the two. So similarities wise, I suppose first one, you could look at the colours. They're all available in the same colours. So if you already have your plate carrier from Agilite, or if you have another plate carrier, whether this is Ranger Green, so Ranger Green will go with other Ranger Green carriers. But you've got your standard kind of colours, and if you have one in green, then whether it's the standard or whether it's the Pincer version, then there is the equivalent version of that. All of the materials on these use Cordura, so wherever that material is on, I don't think there is any Cordura, actually yes there is here at the bottom, so the Cordura on here is 500D Cordura. You've got genuine Velcro, all of the webbing that's on here, so the webbing that's on here on the standard one, and also across the top of the Pincer here, and also on the back here, this is the same really strong, nice mil-spec webbing. Now, as far as one of the subtle differences, as far as the size is concerned, so this is the standard triple magazine version. Comes in roughly at about 9.5 inches, which in new money is about 230 millimeters. The Pincer is ever so slightly wider, but I will say that when it's on your plate carrier, it doesn't skirt over the edges of the plate carrier. This one comes in, so it's about 9.5 before. This is about 11 inches, or in new money, that is roughly, where's it gone? That's roughly 280 millimeters. As far as the depth is concerned, I think they're about the same, so that's about 150 mil or 6 inches. Actually, I think this one will be slightly less. So this one is about 5.25, so yes it is, or 135 mil. So there is a slight difference in size. I think mainly the difference in size comes down to how these have to be how they have to be stitched and put together. With the standard version like this, you can see it's very boxed at the edges, so they can come straight down to here and then stitch along there. Whereas with the Pincer, it does have this reinforced stitching on the side. Now, to go into the actual magazine holders themselves, so this, as I mentioned, this is the standard version, catered for 5.56 ammunition. Whether it's the traditional mags or whether you put in P-mags in here, there's no issue between the two of those. Constructed from Cordura on the front, you also have additional modularity so that you have this extra PALS webbing on the front. Each magazine, or at least each magazine compartment, has 2 rows and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, mainly because you've got 3 unders and 2 overs, so you can attach additional ones to this. If you want to run some pistol magazines on the front, if you want to run additional admin pouch on the front, strictly speaking, although each one is 2, essentially you can work this as though that you've got 6 all across the front that it would possibly overlap, or even if you needed to, you could do 4, 2, and so you could do 1, 2, and then 4 again, so that you've got a 4 slot system that runs again between them. Because it's going on a flat front, the placards generally, although they do have some kind of ergonomics to them, generally your plate tends to be quite flat, so it will sit perfectly across those. The actual pouches themselves are constructed from this 500D Cordura, which is great. All of the stitching on here, super strong. Nice little Agilite logo here on the sides. And then you also have some little grab tabs here. So if you need to rip this up, you can use these. Or even if you wanted to run something through here, then you've got an additional option there as well. Coming to the top, all of the magazines have these really nice bungee cords on them, so if you're concerned about these coming out, which, you know, they are pretty free, give it a bit of a slap and it does stay in there, but I guess if you're running around a lot, going full tilt across the field, then there's a chance that they may come out. So they do have these. They do have these clips. Now these clips are removable though. If you did want to take these off, you can take these off. So as this comes through here, there is a loop here, and then on the back it comes over, and hopefully you'll be able to see it loops through here, and then there's a little garage here at the bottom, so you can tie this off and then put your extra cordage into here. I like the detail that they've done on this. They could have just had that flop around, or they could have had this whole back open for it just to kind of flop around, but instead they've done this really nice little kind of, as I say, garage here that you can put that into. But if you did want to take that off, you can undo those and then pass it and then pull it through. I will say, if you did want to take them off, I think it would be a bit of a bugger trying to get that bungee cord back through here, but again, I guess if you're taking it off, you're taking it off for a reason, and I think you can. Agilite also have additional ones of these that work with Velcro instead, which will be pretty good because then it will make them easier to take off and put back on. So all of this attaches through the back here, exactly the same with this one. What you have is hook and loop, or Velcro in this case, that fits straight onto the front of the placard system on your plate carrier. You do have additional options for height. So generally on most plate carriers you have at least 2 options for the height. On this one uses these Agilite G-hooks, but they do also come with these really nice, take one out for now. I think these are ITW Nexus ones, or the Duraflex. Anyway, yeah, they're all kind of the same anyway, aren't they? So what you can do is, if you want to, if you know, you find that you are changing them quite a lot, is that you can swap these round. So instead you have this on here like that, and then you can put them on there. But generally you'll have this attached, or it'll be connected to your plate carrier, and then, you know. But for extra options, if you do need to do more minor adjustments to the height, there are these little tabs that you can pull up and down, or you can pull through here, which will be able to give you some height adjustment. These are very nice. Oh, and I forgot to mention as well, here on the bottom you also have some grommets, just in case there is any dust or debris or anything like that. And it'll allow that to get out. So that's the standard one. Now, other than the slight difference, this one's about, I think it's about 2 inches wider, is it, roughly? Let's bring this one back up again. There's a massive pigeon flying over my head. It keeps flying past. You can probably hear it. It's really annoying. Where was it? So yes, there's roughly about 2 inches worth of difference in the size on the width, and then maybe about 1 inch or so in the height. But other than that, you know, they both fit on in exactly the same fashion. Actually, let's start with the back on this one. So on the back here, you'll be able to see that there is Velcro all the way through the back. In between each of these, you still have a little bit of articulation there, but you can see that they've gone the extra distance to make sure that there is some additional reinforcement in there. You also, similar with the other one, similar with the standard version, you get some micro adjustment here on the back, depending on whether you want these to be a little bit shorter or a little bit longer, so you can get it so that it's just the right height for you. Both of these placards come with these buckles, so I also have another set of these just in case you wanted to run the buckles on here rather than the G-hooks on here as well. Now, flipping it round to the business end, this is where the major difference is. So There is still some Cordura on here, as we found. There's some here across the bottom. So this is the bottom of the magwells, sorry, the mag pouches, magwell, completely different thing. And then you've got some here on the side. The reinforcements on the side does seem to be more of a webbing style than this nylon Cordura. But this is still, it is still a triple magazine pouch, but instead, let's just grab a couple of magazines. 1, 2. Hopefully you'll be able to see here. They have this large, let's get ourselves back in focus. They have this large mouth opening. Rather than being fully constructed from Cordura, instead it uses this really nice mil-spec elastic. So as you push your magazine into this, you can see as it pushes down there and gets wider as it goes in, this whole thing, and it does take a bit of pushing, this whole thing holds your magazine. It just grabs hold of it. So when it's in there, there's less of a need, in fact I think I've got these in the wrong way around, haven't I? There's less of a need for you to have that bungee loop at the top, but if you want to pull it out, you can lift it up and it will come out. If you want to pull it forward, it's actually harder to pull it forward. I guess if you're concerned about people taking your magazines from in front of you, I don't know if that's something that they've designed, but it's very easy to do that. Now, the way that they've been able to open the mouths on these is with this, I want to say it's a hard TPU style material. It feels like the material that like a mobile phone case, not those really cheap rubbery ones that you used to get kind of early noughties, but the nice kind of mouse or what is it, Spigen kind of cases. And what this does is it just allows the entrance to the magazine to just a magazine pouch to stay open. So when you're trying to reseat your magazines, you can push them in and there's no worry about you hitting the lip by accident. And bizarrely, if you do hit the lip, it just guides you back into where it should be so that your magazine will be able to flow into there easily. It's seated and the whole thing is being pinched all the way around by this elastic. Then when you start to pull it, it comes out. Now on the inside of the here, and I will kind of show you this mainly because this does help, one, with the gripping and also with how easily it slips in and out, which almost seems like an oxymoron that it does both. It grips better but also makes it smoother. So on the inside here, you'll be able to see that these are lined all the way across the back with the same Velcro. And then on the inside, if we can see this, the front panel just here goes down. Does it go down all the way? It does go down all the way to the bottom and still has the same Velcro. Then on the sides, this is where you have more of that elastic on there, which does a great job of holding it. Because this whole area will be a high wear area, on the back here, where you're going to get a lot of rubbing against, this is where that really tough mil-spec webbing comes in to make sure, you know, there's less wear on here. The same webbing here is also used on the inside of the mouth of these mag pouches as well, again just to make sure that these last you as long as they possibly can do. Another subtle difference, which might be an issue for some of you, is because there is on the pincer, because there is no additional modularity to this, whereas with the traditional one you have more pals webbing on here. With the pincer, it gives you a lot cleaner look. But Agilite do have an additional admin panel that you can add to the front of here, which gives you some modularity for tools or pistol magazines on the side, plus an extra large pouch that you can have on the front. They definitely thought a lot into these, and I think where the pincer lacks some of that modularity, with the addition of the other attachments that you can add to the front of this that will then counteract that, very well thought through. whether you're going for the standard triple magazine or the pincer magazine, fixing these to your plate carrier is identical each way. Now at the moment I do have the G hooks fastened to these. We just looked at the buckles which you can put on these instead. Just really depends on how that's going to be lifted up. With the G hooks here, where the PALS molle is, or at least where the PALS webbing, this is the laser cut PALS webbing is here, you'll notice that the vast majority of these are the standard fashion where it's rows across, columns down, but you'll see on the sides of both of these there are two kind of vertical or horizontal versions. So these two hooks, they fit into these. Whilst I'm doing this, by the way, so if it was that you weren't using the metal G hooks and instead you wanted to use the plastic hardware instead, it does make it sometimes a little bit easier to swap these around. The only fidgety part really is getting them through the Velcro, or at least getting them through this part, whilst not trying to get it attached to the Velcro underneath. But it would attach in exactly the same manner. Instead, you'd have your female parts of the buckles here at the top. The male parts would be upwards. So then when you wanted to attach it, you literally slide the male into the female, and then you can drop this down so that it sits over the Velcro panel that's underneath. Again, depending on whether you're using the Velcro side adjusters, then if you wanted to, you could lift this up so that you could then change the size around here. So that was with the standard one, but the pincer one is practically identical to this. You have the two tabs here again, you know what we've just looked at, and it would work in exactly the same fashion when it comes on the front. It's nice to see the difference with the pincer version. I think what it does really is it just gives you more options. There are a lot of these what I'd call traditional ones. Traditional in the fact that, you know, they generally tend to all look like this. But just having something that mixes something up a little bit more, especially from the feedback that they'd had from the Special Services community, the Armed Forces community that they had. This is directly from feedback from that, where they were after something that was just a little bit easier to be able to get your rifle mags in and out of, and that they're seated in there. And again, I think some of it, because of that choice that you now have, generally just comes down on to the way that you prefer to have your placard set up. There isn't really a right or wrong between either of these. It just kind of comes down to personal preference and which one you prefer. Now I will leave a link below so that you can see. Actually, before I do this, let's hear in the comments below, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the standard or traditional version, or would you like to test out something, or do you prefer to use the pincer version? If you have one of these, or if you're thinking of picking up one of these, are you going to pick up the standard, or are you going to pick one up with the pincer? So yeah, now where I was before is leaving some links below so that you can see more from Agilite, and also I'll leave some social media links so that you can see me here on Moorlander Tactical, and also my sister channel Moorlander EDC. But for now, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay tactical. Sometimes it is hard to get the words out. I think if I scripted my content, it would probably sound even worse, because my reading out loud skills are terrible. Anyway, happy Friday, folks, ladies, gentlemen, and I guess whatever shades of grey you are in between that, if you choose to be that type of thing. But yeah, no, happy Friday. See you all soon.